This is Matt for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined by Mikaela Mayer once again. Mikaela, it doesn't seem 2 minutes since we were talking the other week. Um,
Uh,
but you've finally had your fight announced on the Joe Joyce Undercard. How pleased are you to finally get this announced so you've got something to look towards?
I've been waiting and waiting for this announcement. I wanted to get right back in the ring after my last fight and took a little longer than expected, but things happened. But no worries, I'm excited about this one. I think it's great. I'm excited to get back to the UK. I feel like I did a lot of work promoting that last fight and a ton of media there, and in the process built a great fan base and made a lot of noise. And so I just want to get back there and continue that.
Was it important for you to come back to the UK? I think it's sort of at the minute the home of women's boxing, you'd say, in terms of traction and attention. It seems to be UK seems to be the place for that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to continue that momentum because I put so much work into the last fight, whether I got a decision or not. Like, I feel like I made a big splash there, and I wanted to continue that momentum. My publicist, who's also from the UK, Mel,
Yeah.
she was really, really adamant that I needed to come back to the UK, that I had a lot of fans there and that people wanted to see me fight again. They were supporting me, and Top Rank agrees as well. So I did have an option to fight as the co-main here in America for Robeisy Ramirez versus Dogbe,
Oh yeah.
which is coming up April 1st. So it was that option, or it was going to fight on the Joe Joyce card. And I really just felt like it was a better business decision to go back out to the UK after all the hype from the last fight. And plus, I would be on ESPN Plus as well as BC Sports. Whereas if I fought on the Robeisy versus Dogbe card, it would just be ESPN Plus. So it was like a no-brainer to me. And I just love the UK fans. Like, I'm excited about coming back there.
Absolutely. You're going in there against the former world champion, and I'm going to try and pronounce the name correctly, Christina Linardatou. Only defeats have been against Katie Taylor and Delphine Pursoon.
Mhm.
How important is it that you go in there with someone who's hungry and who is going to give you a test so that you can, showcase your skills?
That's the only thing I would accept at this point. And that's exactly what I told my manager in Top Rank after my last fight. I'm like, get me a fight ASAP and make it against someone, a top contender.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want any easy fights. I still feel like I'm the best. I feel like I'm in my prime. I feel like I have a ton of skill. And at this point, I can fight at any area of the ring. I've had all the right fights. I can box and I can move and I can stay behind my jab, or I can bang on the inside and take it to you. And so someone like Linardatou, I think, will bring out the best in me. She'll bring out a little bit of everything that I know how to do. And like you said, she's only lost to Katie Taylor and Delphine Pursoon, so she's up there. She's high ranked. She's experienced, and that's where I want. That's what I want for my career at this point.
She has also got a victory over a former opponent of yours in Alicia Baumgardner. Did that play any part in this at all?
Yeah, there's some entertainment factor there that I thought would be fun for the fans to follow along with, and to sort of keep the rivalry alive. I wanted a top contender. Delphine Pursoon was my first choice. Delphine Pursoon should have been Baumgardner's first choice. She should have been the one going for undisputed, but I wanted to take her on, so I went and offered her the fight. She turned it down because of something she had planned in Dubai, but I felt like the next best option of a name that that the fans could relate to and know of, and a girl that was going to be a top contender and give me a tough fight, was Christina Linardatou. It just made sense. So, she was mandatory for Chantelle Cameron at 140 to go for undisputed.
Yeah.
And she ended up taking the fight with me just because I think the offer was better. But like I said, she's out there and she's a top contender. Only losses to Katie and Delphine.
This is going to be your debut at lightweight, I'm right, yeah?
Mhm.
Like we mentioned in the interview before, a week or two ago, you were wanting to move through the weights. How pleased are you that you're getting this opportunity to showcase your skills at that weight so you can see how you get on? So obviously, you'll be expecting, with no disrespect to her, to win this fight and then go further afield to your bigger fights and these other girls that you've talked about. How pleased are you that you're
Right.
doing this weight change now?
I'm really excited because I feel like it's always been a goal of mine to move up and challenge myself against multiple divisions and multiple champions, because I always felt like I could with my height, my body size, and
Yeah.
everything that I have going for me. And so I stayed at 130 a lot longer than I had planned to. I feel like I should have probably gone up a couple of years ago, but because of the goals I had to go undisputed, and it took a little longer to get the fights that we wanted, I stayed there. And I have a really smart team, and I made the fight. I made the weight. I wasn't skipping meals. I wasn't dehydrating myself. I really, really did it smart. I know how to do it at this point in my career. Like, I'm experienced there. But it's no secret that to get my body down to 130, like at that point, I'm definitely cutting muscle. So I am excited to see how I feel without having to cut those last few pounds of muscle and just feeling a little bit more full and natural. Um, yeah, and eventually, 140 as well. Like, I feel like 140 might actually be my most comfortable weight, but 135 will definitely be a lot easier to make. And I hope that you see the power that I actually really do have. I really do have power, and I feel like a lot of people haven't seen it. And I believe a lot of it has to do with that extra cut. And so we'll see. I'm excited to see how I feel and how that changes.
So can we expect an explosive performance from you in this next fight then? You're going into this thinking, this will benefit you. Are we expecting to see I don't know, a more savage approach from you, if that's possible?
Yeah, well, let's just say I definitely have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder right now. I think in the last fight, I was boxing her nicely, and I thought the game plan that I had was working. But if I would have known that the judges were seeing it a different way, I would have done what I normally do and press the hell out of her. And so in my mind right now, it's like I'm not I'm not going to take any round for granted. I'm going in there to win every single round and make it clear as possible. Yeah, that was sort of like scary. I've had that happen to me before in the amateurs and stuff like that, but it's like, it was kind of like a wake up call. Like, man, just, you never take your foot off the gas. You just never know. And so I'm coming into this fight with a lot to lose because I cannot get another loss in my record. I mean, boxing's already unforgiving with one loss. And I've always preached that it shouldn't matter as long as you make big fights and you put on a good performance and a good show for the fans. But at the end of the day, it does. And so I have to go in there and put on the performance of my lifetime and prove that I'm still the best, which I believe I am.
100%. With this new weight as well that you're trying out, the move up in weight, have you almost got one eye on potentially Katie Taylor? And I say that because Katie's going to fight Amanda Serrano in May, and they talk about September potentially being at Croke Park in Ireland, which is going to have 80,000 people, jam-packed stadium. Now, if you can't get a fight with Alicia Baumgardner after this fight, you can't obviously just hang around and keep waiting. You're going to want big fights, big money, hopefully for world titles. Would you be wanting to throw your name into the hat for that? Because especially when you've been to the UK and overseas and built up your name, it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer because any division that I go to at this point, I'm shooting for the champion. Like, they're the goal for me because that's where I am in my career. Like, that's where I feel like I'm in my prime, and I built my career to the point where it only would take a few fights for me to be a top contender and challenger and obvious contender for the world champion. So, there's definitely politics involved when it comes to boxing, but I have every intention of going up against Katie Taylor before I jump to 140. With that said, if the opportunity comes to fight Chantelle at 140 before the opportunity comes for Katie Taylor, I might go in that direction too. I'm at the point where I want to take on the biggest possible challenges. I'm going to go where the big fights are. I'm going to go where the rivalries are and where the fans want to see the fights and where I'm wanted. So we'll just see. But yeah, absolutely. Every champion is on my hit list. Like, that's what I want for my career for sure.
Because that would be, we talk about historic nights. Katie Taylor is going to be, like I said, coming back to Ireland for the first time in God knows how long in May. That second fight, which they're looking at planning, will be like off the charts. So if you manage to put yourself in there, that would be, that would be a landmark moment for not just women's boxing, but boxing again.
If I put myself in what fight?
If you put your name in the hat for a second fight in Ireland, because you're going to be fighting there in September in front of 80,000, it's been said.
Oh, good. Yeah, call me. I will be ready and available. Like, I'm at that point now where it's just, I'm ready to go. I'm like, I'm off my coach has let me off my leash. And I'm ready for the big fights only. So absolutely, that's something that I definitely want to have on my resume, my career. And I just hope that, honestly, I hope that Katie Taylor I hope that's something that she would want to take on and challenge herself against me as well. And I know she's a top-notch champion, and she always wants to take on the best. And so I feel like, in order to get that fight done, I would need her to sort of be on board with that.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I don't know Katie, but I mean, looking at her resume, she seems to fight all the top girls. Doesn't really shy away from challenges. But you mentioned there about taking a defeat and how everything can change from you. But you, because of how freely everyone moves up and down the weights in the women's division, like you mentioned, Chantelle Cameron there. You obviously got the Baumgardner rematch, Katie Taylor. All you guys could fight each other, and someone has to lose. But you'd still have, although it wouldn't matter whoever loses. You still got them big fights. That must be pleasing that you've got other girls in your era to have these fights with.
Well, that's what I love about the women in this era. Like, we're going up and we're challenging ourselves against the best. We're putting our ass on the line in different divisions. And yeah, you're right. There has to be a loser. But I'm hoping that within this generation, we can sort of change the narrative of boxing, and that one loss is the end of your career, and that your O is all that matters, because it shouldn't be that way. That's what's going to prevent the best fights from happening. And I think as women are doing a great job at that. I've spoke about this before I caught my loss, and now I have to practice what I preach and go and continue to make the big fights. And the fans are on board. I have such a great following. They've been so supportive regardless. And the promoters got to be on board too. The fighters can't be afraid to take on big challenges and afraid that they'll get dropped, or that they'll lose their position so drastically. You obviously lose it a little bit, but there still needs to be a way to climb yourself back to the top. And so it takes more than the fighters, but I think us women are definitely doing it because we have a lot to prove, and we want the biggest fights possible.
100%. Well, Mikaela, look, I think we're all looking forward to seeing you back in the UK. Another big fight for you. Another huge card as well. Joe Joyce is doing big things in the heavyweight division. So, yeah, we'll look forward to catching up with you when you get over. And, yeah, we'll catch up further when you're back in the UK.
Okay, right on. Thank you.
Appreciate
I'll see you guys soon.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.